Hello everyone, my name is Olivia and welcome to a new Books and Brews, a series on my channel where I recommend you 5 books while I drink a cup of coffee. I actually had a cup of coffee right before I filmed this video, and I'm not capable of drinking 2 cups of coffee in a day because then I start to feel color and taste sound, so I'm having a glass of water. It really makes me sad that on Twitter you can't see Goodreads updates anymore because I have been reading 5 out of 5 star reads consistently for like the past month, and I'm so excited to share all of them with you today. So sit back, relax, and let's get into the book recommendations because we have a bunch of different genres to share today. The first 5 out of 5 star read that I read finally was the Ex Machina screenplay, and I had such a great time with it. Ex Machina is one of my favorite movies of all time. It is a film centered around a developer who gets invited to this famous tech guru's house where he is developing AI, and he is testing this Turing test to see if AI has consciousness. So using Caleb, who was invited to the tech guru's house, who is played by Oscar Isaac, he is interacting with the AI to see if she has the ability to have consciousness similar to that of a human. This movie is such an innovative, really introspective type of movie that explores what AI is, the capabilities of it, and how it can change the world in the future. But it's also a very minimalistic script. It's very straight to the point. It only follows 4 characters in this very enclosed environment, but the conversations that are had in this house as they discuss AI and they discuss what consciousness is and what makes a person is fascinating. I'm not really one to like sci-fi movies that are centered around AI, mostly because it really makes me nervous, but I do think that this movie tackles it in a way that is both really accessible but also really haunting. And in this A24 collection, we have 2 essays about the movie as well. One is called This Is Not a Love Story by Jack Halberstam. This one really explores the fact that there is a romantic element to this movie where Caleb is slowly but surely falling for the AI robot. It's also exploring the fact that it's not a typical romance and it shouldn't be seen as a romantic movie. And then we have an essay called What is Consciousness by Marie Shanahan, and this essay was the essay that really made me nervous. It was the essay that discusses the power of AI and how we should be both in awe of it but also terrified of it. One quote from that essay is, "Ex Machina is an allegory and a reminder that if one day we work out how to endow a machine with general intelligence, we need to be very careful." It discusses the danger of AI and how it can alter our very reality and what consciousness is because it can be altered so easily. And I had such a great time reading this. If you are a fan of A24 movies and it has a script for it, I would highly recommend investing in it. It's a little bit expensive, but it is just such a beautiful collection piece to add to your decor, and I just loved the essays that were included. I really enjoyed reading over the script as well because it just feels so haunting and just so timely because we were having a lot of discussions about AI, especially in Hollywood. So I think this is a very timely read that just really reinvigorated my love for this movie, and yeah, this was great. I highly recommend reading the Ex Machina script. I'm sure you can find a PDF of it online because you can pretty much find a PDF. There's a bug. Oh my god, get away. Because you can pretty much find a PDF of movie scripts online all the time. They have a bunch of different databases for you to kind of study the scripts and learn more about screenwriting, and I just highly recommend this. It was great. Shifting over to mythology, I listened to the audiobook of The Shadows of Perseus by Clair Haywood. This follows 3 different perspectives, all centered around Perseus, but not necessarily Perseus himself. We follow Danae, who is the mother of Perseus, Medusa, who we all know has an instance with Perseus, and then we follow Andromeda. And the synopsis says, as the stories of these 3 women intersect, they weave an alternative tale of Perseus's heroic journey and the 3 lives darkened by its violent and destructive shadow. But even as Perseus tries to silence them, the women find that reclaiming the power of their own voices may be the only hope for lifting themselves into a better future. I loved this audiobook, and I think if you are a fan of Circe, I think if you're a fan of the Song of Achilles, this is a Greek mythological retelling that's on par with those novels, and this one just really left an impact on me. It was just such a well-written mythological retelling that I really enjoyed. It was really fresh and new, and it shined a light on Perseus in a way that painted him as the clear villain, and he is just impacting these women's lives in very different ways. And it reminded me a lot of The Silence of the Girls, where that one explored Achilles as the villain. And Perseus is obviously a villain in mythology, but I think that this one really highlighted his impact on the women around him and also really delved into their point of views, to their perspective in a very lyrical way that was fantastic to listen to. I really enjoyed the audiobook. So if you're looking for a mythology book to add to your TBR, I think this one is definitely worth your time. I have listened to so many different mythology books and a lot of them don't really leave an impact on me, but I had a great time with this, and this copy was given to me by Dutton, so thank you so much to them. I am so glad I picked this up because this became another 5-star read of mine. Now we're going to get into book talk books, aka books that are just really popular on Book Talk that I personally had a great time with, so let's get into it. The first one is Love Theoretically by Hazelwood. This book is not necessarily just a book talk book, it's a bookstagram book, it is a booktube book, it is a beloved book by everyone, and you know what? It is completely and utterly worth the hype. Hazelwood, I didn't really enjoy her short stories, but her novels are just so sweet, like candy, and they bring me so much genuine joy that I just cannot get enough of them. So when I went on my birthday trip, which I have a vlog for and I'll put it down below, I was at a bookstore and my best friend said I'm allowed to pick out one book for my birthday and she will get it for me, and I picked up Love Theoretically because I realized that this book had come out and I love Hazelwood's novels and I want to read all of them basically, so I decided to pick it up and I immediately started reading it. And it follows our main character Elsie, who is a theoretical physicist, and she is trying to apply to work at a university because she is working as an adjunct professor. It is such a soul-crushing job that just consumes her life, and she is so deeply unhappy and also severely underpaid, so she's really hoping that this big break into this university will be the opportunity for her to have financial stability and also go into the field that she wants to study in. So she is going through the process of applying to this job when she comes across Jack. Jack is the older brother of the man that she is pretending to date. She works for this app where she goes on fake dates with men to like parties, to weddings, to pretend to be their girlfriend, and she is fake dating Jack's brother. So Jack thinks that she's dating his brother, and Jack doesn't like Elsie. So he's trying everything in his power to not have her get this job. And this book is the juiciest, cutest book that I have read in a while. Hazelwood really knocks it out of the park when it comes to fake dating and rivals. I just think the tension is so fun and the banter is fantastic. And I also really enjoyed this book more than Love Hypothesis because Elsie is chronically ill. She deals with diabetes and she deals with the fact that being chronically ill is extremely expensive, and she is trying to find the stability to be able to function normally in her adulthood. And I related so much to her descriptions of being chronically ill, and I also really related to the fact that she is a mirror ball girly. If you don't know what a mirror ball girly is, it basically means that you're a people pleaser. It's a song from Taylor Swift about how you can alter your personality and you can kind of be whatever people need you to be. I can always figure out what people want out of me, and then I kind of heighten that and I become what they want. It's a symptom of people pleasing, and the exploration of being a people pleaser was absolutely fantastic. It was very fluffy and cute, but it also had a lot of substance to it. With the exploration of not being financially stable, being chronically ill, and being a recovering people pleaser, I was amazed. This book was so cute, totally worth the hype. I'm so glad I picked it up, but I knew I was going to pick it up either way. The next book I read is a bit of a surprise, and I didn't even have time to film a reading vlog for it because I devoured it so quickly that I just couldn't even think to film a video because it just consumed my waking soul. It's all I spoke about too with friends, and it is Fourth Wing. Fourth Wing got me, guys. I first found out about it from a coworker, and she was like, have you heard of Fourth Wing? And I was like, yeah. People are posting it all over TikTok, all over Instagram, and it was kind of weird because it just came out of nowhere and it felt like a marketing scheme. And because of that, and because I always have to try and feel a little bit original, I was like, I don't want to read it. I'm not interested. I'm too cool for it. And then I found out it was about dragons. And then I was like, oh, I love dragons. And I've never really read a good dragon fantasy book. So I was like, oh, I want it. I really want it so badly. So my friend Jessica got me this copy for my birthday, and I decided to start reading it right after Love Theoretically. Oh my god. I could not put this book down. Fourth Wing is kind of difficult to explain from a person who doesn't read a lot of fantasy because I just don't know how to pitch it. But the best way that I can describe it is that these people are at this academy to eventually become dragon riders who join the army of this kingdom to protect it from outside forces. So we follow our main character, Violet. She is 20 years old. She is also chronically ill, and she is entered into this academy against her will because her mother is the general, and her mother has this tradition where all her children are dragon riders, even though Violet wanted to be a scribe who works in the library and kind of documents history. So this academy is like the Hunger Games meets Squid Game. It is an elite academy where people go into this knowing that they can die, and they have to go through a bunch of different trials to try and survive to eventually maybe bond with a dragon. This book was so fun. This book was everything that I have ever wanted out of a fantasy. I'm not the typical person who enjoys those like kingdom fantasies where it's like she's the long lost princess and she has to become the queen. I don't really like those types of fantasies. I want fantasies with dragons. I want fantasies with different creatures, and I love the entire tension of being in love with someone you cannot have, and it's also coupled with the fact that you can die at any single moment, so every single person feels temporary. Every single situation is heightened to a whole new level, and it was just so juicy, so accessible. I think people who are seasoned fantasy fans don't like Fourth Wing because it feels basic and it does have a lot of plot holes. I had a great time with it. I was entertained, I was invested, I was able to understand the world, understand the stakes, and understand the overlying tension, not only in this academy, but in the entire kingdom, because what I struggle with for fantasy is the fact that I don't understand everything that's happening. It feels too much to me. It feels too big. But the way that the story unfolds is very accessible. You are learning more about the dragons in a very slow way that's easy to digest. And then you are learning more about the kingdom as well in a slow way that's easy to digest. And I flew through this. This is 500 pages long, and I read it in like a week, which is very good for me because wow. This was so good. This was so entertaining. The romance was great. The dragons were great. The action was great. I had a great time with it. And that's all that matters in the end of my day, because as long as I had a great time, I'm chillin'. I'm so excited for the sequel. This is the first book ever that I've pre-ordered the sequel. I've never pre-ordered a book before because I would just go out into the bookstore the day of to get the book. I just never really pre-order things, but this is the first book where I finished the book, closed it, went to barnesandnoble.com and pre-ordered the sequel. I'm genuinely so excited for Iron Flame, and this is a 5-book series, and it came out this year, and the sequel's already coming out in November, which is wild to me. I don't understand how that's a thing. I don't understand how this author writes so quickly. I think she said that she wrote Fourth Wing in 3 months, which is wild to me, and can probably explain the little plot holes that you see throughout the text that I think a closer editing job could have fixed. But I had a great frickin' time, and that's all that matters. Another book that I fell in love with, that I didn't know I was going to enjoy, is Happy Place. Happy Place by Emily Henry is another book that consumed my entire heart, soul, and being. I started this on the beach and I was kicking my feet and giggling on page 1. It is such a juicy literary fiction that I just could not get enough of, and was also a book that I kept on bringing up to my friends because I was invested. I was on the edge of my seat. I was reading through this so quickly, and I also had a really good time. So we follow our main character, Harriet, and Harriet has been dating this man named Wynne since they met at college, and they were engaged. That is until Wynne mysteriously broke off their engagement with no real explanation, and every single year, them and their friends go to this cottage in Maine, and they have a beautiful summer together, and they get to really catch up and spend time together every single summer. So this is a tradition for them. Except the fact that Harriet is now going to this trip with the knowledge that she's going to have to tell her friends that they have broken off their engagement and they're no longer together. But circumstances ensue, and Harriet and Wynne are spending the summer together despite the fact that they were going to be apart. And now they're all in Maine with their friends, and they have to kind of keep up this facade that they're still together because this is their last time in this cottage, and they don't want to bring down the mood by telling their friends immediately that they're no longer together. So they're keeping up this facade that they're still engaged while having these feelings deep within their heart that they are both heartbroken and they both aren't together, and they have to pretend to be together. So that's the premise of this book. This book is so good. It is so juicy, it is so dramatic, like not too dramatic, it's just like the stakes are pretty high, but it also deals with the fact that all these friends who are adults, they're in their 30s, there are a lot of things that are happening to them individually that are affecting their entire friend group because they no longer live together like they did at college, and it's kind of exploring the fact that when you get older, your friends move away and they are farther to reach, and you can't just be how you were in college. It's a very different dynamic. It's a very different situation because people have different things that they're worried about. Not only are we exploring the relationship between Harriet and Wynne and the dynamic of that and how they have to fake their relationship, which adds a lot of sexual tension to the situation, but we're also exploring what it's like to transition to a new chapter in your life as an adult. It is done perfectly. It is done with so much heart and soul, and the way that Emily Henry writes is minimalistic but packs such a punch, and it was just so incredibly readable. I could not put this book down. I was invested in every single character's lives, and it was just such a fantastic read. This one also kind of explores being a people pleaser, but not as much as Love Theoretically, but I just loved the transitional moments in this book. I loved the exploration of a broken relationship trying to mend itself, and it was just so good. I like to pitch it as a Taylor Swift book because Taylor Swift to outsiders feels like a pop girl who just sings about boys, but when you actually listen to her songs, they're so much deeper, they're so much more introspective, and they really delve into the feelings that women have and the deep emotions that we have, and that's what Happy Place feels like. People will look at you reading this book and be like, oh, it's a cute summary book, but on the inside there is so much emotion, there's so much character development, there's so much emotional exploration done in this book that just really knocks you off your feet, and you're just like, this is fantastic. This book was so good. All these books were so good. I am on a reading streak, guys. I don't want to brag. But I've never read five-star reads in a row, but here I am. I read 5 amazing reads in a row, and I felt blessed. I felt blessed by the book gods because these books all gave me different things that I wanted. I had a great time reading these books. I had such a great time with it. But if you want to watch my happy place vlog, that will be down below. If you want to follow me on social media to get reading updates before you see them here, my Instagram, my TikTok are down below, as well as my threads. If you have stayed this far in the video, comment a black heart emoji to match my outfit so we can see who stays for the longest in all my videos. If you do, thank you so much. I had a great time talking about these books. It made me so happy to relive the memory and the emotions of what these books provided me, and I just love talking about books on this channel. So thank you so much for watching. I will see you in another video very soon. If you have any video ideas, put them down below, especially autumn video ideas. I would love to hear out your thoughts. And yeah, that's about it. I'll see you around. Bye!